Good after morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for teaching me so far, and now I am hopefully going to be able to teach you. So the objective for today's lesson, I'm trying to be sneaky and sneak a life lesson in like Dr. Johnson. So the main stated purpose of this is we are going to learn how to play a two-part Amazing Grace and learn the fingerings for the notes in that two-part Amazing Grace. But the real lesson that I want you to get out of this is what difficulties are students going to have if they're beginning flute for the first time, especially if they're being asked to jump in to a new ensemble and just learn a piece. So we're going to simulate that today by learning this piece, Amazing Grace for two flutes. And it has some notes, if you'll take a gander at it, that we have not talked about yet today. So to start off, the first thing I want you all to do is the first thing that any student should do when they get a new piece of music. Does anybody have any idea what that is?
Identify trouble spots.
Identify trouble spots. That is a good one. I'm going to write that down. So we have an uneven amount of students here, so I will join you once I write this up on the board. But I want you to take about 3 minutes and identify some trouble spots in this piece. Ready?
What part are we playing?
Oh, that is a very good question. My apologies. We will play the bottom part if you two would like to play the top part. All right. Ready? Go.
Honestly, just some of these lower chromatic fingerings.
Okay.
Getting the finger switches between
I think the things that stand out to me are
Okay.
we need to figure out natural spots and F sharp
Where do you get that?
there's an F sharp. There's an F sharp. There's an F sharp. And then we have to figure out E natural.
Okay. Good. All right. So once you have identified your trouble spots, does anybody have an idea of what the second step should be? Any guesses? All right. I'll give you the answer to this one. The answer to this question is once you've identified these trouble spots, you have to figure out how you are going to compensate for those trouble spots. Now, on the back of your sheet of music, there is a fingering chart that has all of the notes for flute. One way you can identify some trouble spots that you may be having, like you're identifying that you don't know the fingering for E natural. One way to quickly address a new piece of music and its trouble spots is to write in the piece of music the fingerings and maybe some counting, so like 1 and 2 and, if that is an issue as well. If you don't have a pencil, you can borrow mine. So everybody take about 1 minute to take a look at those trouble spots and try and iron them out. You can play and practice it if you want as well. And I'll be walking around to double check that you're getting all of those fingerings in there. All right, everybody, eyes back up here. All right, so now we have gone through the first 2 steps and you've gone through the third step, which is practice. So now I'm going to ask you to do the scary part, which is knowing that you're probably underprepared to play this piece. I'm going to ask you to just play this piece. And I also have trouble with this piece. So we are all going to, together, struggle through, and we're going to try and play this entire piece. If we fall off the wagon, we're going to come back together and go back through the steps again. All right? I'm going to come over here. All right, everybody ready? I will count off in 3, 4. I will give you one full bar. 1, 2, 3. That was way better than I thought this was actually going to go. So, I want you each give me 2 things you did well, 1 thing you did maybe a little bit worse that you could have done better on. All right. 2 things you did well?
For the most part, I had all the fingers,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to keep in time with everyone.
Okay.
But I really struggled. Some of those notes are really low. Anything past like that low F, I just could not get it out.
Yep, I feel that one very, very much myself. All right.
I followed along, but I didn't play at all. I don't know what I'm doing. So.
Hey, following along, good. But did you at least know where the trouble spots are, and did you make a good effort
The
at
whole
trying?
thing was a trouble spot. I don't know the fingers at all, so I didn't play. But I got 1 or 2 notes in there.
Hey,
So.
that is a percentage, and with practice, do you think that you could actually play this piece?
Probably.
All right, Anne?
Yeah, kind of like Mason said, I feel like I kept up with the fingering pretty okay. And I think I struggled a little bit getting those low notes, and maybe just like keeping time with the rest of everyone else. I feel like the rhythms, I got a little lost in the rhythms.
All right. And that, what we just did, was our wonderful 4th step, and I think it is probably the most important, and that is reflection. I think I spelled it right, too. All right. So, anytime we're going through, and keep this in mind with students that you may have, whether you put them on flute or some other new instrument. Say that they've been learning clarinet for 3 years, and they feel like they are ready to switch to saxophone, and you need a saxophone in your jazz band. It's going to be a really steep learning curve, but remember, if you tell them that going through these 4 steps is going to help them practice and catch up leaps and bounds faster than just kind of like, well, I guess I know this instrument now, I guess I'll play it and figure it out as I go. Keeping a structure for them and making them push through is always a great way to help them develop as an instrumentalist. And this is also not a bad way to approach just life in general. That is all I have for you today. Does anybody have any questions just in general about the flute or about this practice procedure? No? All right. Thank you all so much for being such good students and for making such a great effort on that piece. Thank you very much.